July 13th, 1930. Montevideo, Uruguay. 93,000 people packed into a stadium. The noise was deafening. People were crying. People were screaming. People were praying. Two teams stood on the grass, Uruguay and Argentina, two neighboring countries, two fierce rivals, one dream: to become the first ever World Cup champions. Nobody knew it then, but this moment would start something extraordinary, a competition that would grow into the biggest sporting event in human history. Today, more people watch the FIFA World Cup than any other event on Earth, more than the Olympics, more than the Super Bowl, more than anything. 3.5 billion people watched the 2022 World Cup. That is almost half of every human being on the planet. But how did this begin? How did one football competition become the world's greatest sporting event? This is the story of the FIFA World Cup, a story of legends, drama, heartbreak, and glory. Let us begin. Before the World Cup existed, football was already popular. Football was invented in England in the 1800s. It spread quickly across the world. People everywhere fell in love with this simple, beautiful game. In 1904, football needed organization. A group of men from Europe created FIFA. FIFA stands for Fédération Internationale de Football Association. FIFA would be the organization that controlled world football. For many years, football was played in the Olympics, but the Olympics had strict rules about who could play. Only amateur players, players who were not paid, could participate. Jules Rimet had a different vision. Jules Rimet was the president of FIFA. He dreamed of a separate competition, a competition open to all players, professional players, the best players in the world. In 1928, FIFA agreed. They would create a World Cup, a competition for all nations, the greatest football competition in history. Now they needed a host country. Several countries wanted to host, but FIFA chose Uruguay. Why Uruguay? Uruguay had just won the football gold medal at the 1928 Olympics. Uruguay was also celebrating 100 years of independence, and Uruguay promised to pay all travel expenses for visiting teams. The first World Cup was set for 1930. Getting to Uruguay in 1930 was not easy. No aeroplanes flew there. Teams had to travel by ship. The journey took 2 to 3 weeks. Many European countries refused to go. The journey was too long, too expensive, too inconvenient. Only 4 European teams made the journey: France, Belgium, Yugoslavia, and Romania. 13 teams in total competed. The tournament lasted just 2 weeks. Uruguay was the favorite, and Uruguay did not disappoint. In the final, Uruguay faced Argentina, their neighbors, their rivals. 90,000 fans packed the stadium. The tension was unbearable. Uruguay won 4-2. The crowd erupted. People danced in the streets. Uruguay declared a national holiday. The World Cup had begun, and it was already producing drama, passion, and unforgettable moments. After World War II interrupted the World Cup, The competition returned in 1950. But the most magical story came in 1958. A 17-year-old boy stepped onto the World Cup stage. He was from Brazil. He was incredibly skillful. He moved with the grace of a dancer and the speed of a cheetah. His real name was Edson Arantes do Nascimento, but the whole world would come to know him by one name: Pelé. Pelé was not just good, he was extraordinary. He was something football had never seen before. In the 1958 World Cup in Sweden, the 17-year-old Pelé scored 6 goals, including a hat trick in the semi-final. Brazil won the World Cup. Pelé broke down crying at the final whistle. He was only 17 years old. He had just become a world champion. The images of the young Pelé crying with joy went around the world. Everyone fell in love with him. Everyone fell in love with Brazilian football. Pelé would go on to win 3 World Cups: 1958, 1962, and 1970. No player has ever won 3 World Cups as a player. Pelé remains the only one. Many people still call Pelé the greatest footballer who ever lived. If Pelé was the king of the 1960s and 1970s, then Diego Maradona was the king of the 1980s. Diego Maradona was from Argentina. He was small. He was not tall or physically powerful, but with a ball at his feet, he was unstoppable. The 1986 World Cup in Mexico is where Maradona created his greatest legend. Argentina faced England in the quarterfinal. This was not just a football match. Just 4 years earlier, Argentina and England had fought a real war over islands called the Falklands. The match was political, it was emotional, it was explosive. In the second half, Maradona scored a goal. The crowd went wild. The referee allowed it. But there was a problem. Maradona had punched the ball into the net with his hand. It was not a legal goal. Handball is against the rules, but the referee did not see it. After the match, journalists asked Maradona about the goal. He smiled and said it was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. This goal became forever known as the Hand of God goal. It is one of the most controversial moments in World Cup history. But just 4 minutes later, Maradona scored another goal. This time it was completely legal and absolutely breathtaking. Maradona received the ball in his own half of the pitch. Then he dribbled past 5 England players. He ran 60 meters. He beat the goalkeeper. He scored. The whole stadium was silent for 1 second, then an explosion of noise. FIFA later voted this the goal of the century, the greatest goal ever scored in World Cup history. Argentina went on to win the 1986 World Cup. Not every World Cup story is about victory and glory. Some of the most memorable moments are shocking upsets. The greatest upset in World Cup history happened in 1950. England had finally agreed to play in the World Cup. England was the home of football. England invented the game. England was expected to easily win. Their first match was against the United States. The United States was ranked as one of the weakest teams in the tournament. Nobody gave America any chance. But football does not care about expectations. In the 34th minute, an American player scored. The crowd could not believe it. The England players could not believe it. England pressed for an equalizer. They attacked and attacked, but they could not score. Final score, United States 1, England 0. When the result was telegraphed back to England, newspaper editors thought it was a mistake. Some newspapers printed the score as England 10, USA 0. They assumed the person who sent the result had made an error. They could not believe America had beaten England. But it was true. One of the greatest upsets in football history. If you ask football fans about the most shocking moment they ever witnessed, many will say the same thing. Germany versus Brazil, semifinal, 2014 World Cup, Brazil. Brazil was hosting the World Cup. 200 million Brazilians were watching. The whole country was united behind their team. Brazil was expected to reach the final and win the cup on home soil. Then the match began. Germany scored in the 11th minute, then again in the 23rd minute, then again in the 24th minute, then again in the 26th minute. 4 goals in 13 minutes. Brazilian fans in the stadium were in tears. They could not understand what was happening. By halftime, Germany led 5-0. Germany scored 2 more in the second half. Brazil scored 1. Final score, Germany 7, Brazil 1. Brazilian fans cried openly in the stadium. Some could not move from their seats. Television cameras showed grown men and women sobbing uncontrollably. It was the biggest defeat in Brazilian football history, in their own country, in a World Cup semifinal. Brazilian people called it the Mineirazo, a national catastrophe. Germany went on to win the 2014 World Cup.
For many years, one question haunted football fans. Would Lionel Messi ever win a World Cup? Messi is considered by many to be the greatest footballer of his generation. Some say the greatest ever. He had won everything at club level with Barcelona, Ballon d'Or awards, Champions League titles, everything. But the World Cup had escaped him. In 2014, Argentina reached the final, but they lost to Germany. Messi was heartbroken. Years passed. Messi kept trying. He nearly retired from international football several times. Then came Qatar 2022. Messi, now 35 years old, knew this was his last chance, his last opportunity to win the one trophy that had always escaped him. Argentina's journey to the final was incredible. They lost their first match to Saudi Arabia in one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history. Then they won every single match after that. The final against France was extraordinary. It was perhaps the greatest World Cup final ever played. At 3-2 down in extra time, Argentina had scored twice to level. Then, in extra time, Argentina scored. Then Mbappe scored again to make it 3-3. The match went to penalties. The whole world was watching. Hundreds of millions of people held their breath. Argentina won on penalties. Messi fell to his knees. He covered his face with his hands. He was crying. 35 years old, his last World Cup, finally a world champion. The images of Messi crying, holding the Golden World Cup trophy went around the entire world. It was one of the most emotional moments in the history of sport. The FIFA World Cup began as a small competition in Uruguay in 1930. 13 teams, no airplanes, a simple trophy. Today, it is the most watched event in human history. 32 nations compete. Billions of people watch. Every 4 years, the world stops and watches football. The World Cup has given us legends. Pelé, Maradona, Ronaldo, Messi. It has given us unforgettable moments. The hand of God, the goal of the century. Germany 7, Brazil 1. Messi's final dream coming true. But the World Cup gives us something even more valuable. For 1 month every 4 years, the entire world watches the same thing. People from every country, every religion, every language, all united by one game. A simple game. 2 teams, 1 ball, 1 goal. Football is not just a sport, it is the world's language. And the World Cup is when the whole world speaks together. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned many new English words today, and I hope you enjoyed the incredible story of the FIFA World Cup. Subscribe to Past in English for more amazing history stories in simple English. See you in the next video.